So I think it's kind of cool that I get to do this from my home and make sure that it gets to you all in time because self care is super personal, right? There is a level of I would say sacredness to it, a level of something that is deep and connected, and our histories with self care, our beliefs about self care come from very personal places, and so I'm glad I get to do this from one of my personal spaces, particularly because I want to show you something that has a lot to do with my self care. So I want to share this timeline with you to tell you a little bit about my story of self care. So in May of 2016, I felt very impressed within my frames. You all did frames this morning, right? So within my frames, my personal relationship with God is something that is really a part of my frame and a part of my lens and worldview and what grounds me. And so I felt impressed in 2016 to move into the Castle Boulevard neighborhood, and it is a neighborhood on the east side of Montgomery County, where Paint Branch High School, Briggs Cheney Middle School, Blake High School, that area, 29 North, Tech Road, Four Corners, going up, if any of that sounds familiar to you. Right, so I felt impressed to move from my parents' home, where I was living and saving so much money. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, right. And to move on to Castle Boulevard because I really felt impressed to be a part of this community, which I know is underserved. And so I was teaching at Banneker Middle School, which is near to the community. A lot of my students lived there, families, and so I said, I feel like I need to move into the community. So I moved into this community in June of 2016, right? In July of 2016, no, excuse me, in June of 2016, I looked for the home. I found the place that I was supposed to move. I went on vacation July of 2016, and so one of my best friends, I made her my power of attorney, and she closed on the home for me. So in August of 2016, I moved into the home. In September of 2016, I was hospitalized for 10 days and 10 nights because I had suffered a stroke. They don't know why, they don't know how. I was healthy. I thought I had balance in my life. And so I had to take leave from work. I had to take 2 months off of leave from work. They say the stroke was not stress induced. They don't know why. They say there's no scientific evidence to explain why I experienced a stroke, but I'm so thankful that I am well and healthy and thriving. They said I came out of it in a way they did not expect, considering what happened to me. And so then I was back home with my parents October and December. And then I moved back into my home in January of 2017. So before all of this took place, I thought, like I had self care down to a T. I make time for myself. But I realized that I was maybe fooling myself a little bit. And I was planning so much. I'm very involved in my community, very involved in my church, and I'm always in a mode where I'm planning for others. On top of that, I'm an educator, so I stay planning for others. That's my life. After the stroke, I took some time and I went and saw a therapist. I had been to therapy before, particularly for grief. But this time I went because I was trying to process what the heck just happened to me. And I was trying to really navigate these feelings of taking time off of work. I felt guilty for it, right? And so my therapist really worked me through a lot and told me I had to create space in my life. She's like, I'm not saying that your life was what caused the stroke, so please do not be alarmed. My stroke was not stress induced. It was not because I did not take care of myself. But she said, as a result of this, you've got to be more mindful of taking care of yourself and creating space in your life. And so I have been more intentional about that. I put onto my calendar days where I am, I've termed it a self-care weekend. And I adhere to that as much as I adhere to the other obligations. I don't want to be a liar. I try to adhere to it, but I plan for it, which is something that I had not done before. Right? I make time to stop and read something that I want to read. I'm sure that you all want to read something other than the fabulous literature that your young scholars produce. I take time to catch up on shows. I travel. I love to travel. I build in time to work out. It has taken time, but the point of this is I don't want you all to have some sort of trauma or tragedy be the propelling force for you to then create this space of self-care. So I want you to take a pause. I want you to just do a little bit of writing and thinking. It sounds like, I was looking at the data that you all gave, 13 of you all are very concerned about self-care. 4 of you all are totally preoccupied with it. 1 was not concerned. 1 had a little bit of concern. So the majority of you all have some concern about self-care. So I want you to think about what has changed since you have begun this career. What has changed about the way you take care of yourself? Don't cogitate on it too long. Just get it down onto the paper. What has changed about the way you have taken care of yourself from before you had this wonderful position to now? What has changed?